How does someone like me, a washed up worship pastor with zero design background, go from earning $500 per website to now $10,000? I can tell you right now, it's not because I have some special talent or even that I know what I'm doing more than you do. It's all because over the last 10 years of designing websites, I figured out a system. And that system creates premium sites that are perfect for my clients every single time. And I'm sharing that exact system with you by walking you through a real $10,000 project. If you're not starting every project with a mood board, you gotta start now. It's gonna save you a ton of time from going on to build something that the client doesn't actually even like. All a mood board is just a big file where you're throwing a bunch of ideas for the project. Everything from inspiration, fonts, font combos, colors, and color palettes. Anything that helps you figure out where the project should head. But here's where most web designers get it wrong, and where I got it wrong for a very long time. They don't go far enough with their mood board. Let me show you what I mean by sharing this $10,000 project's mood board that I mentioned earlier. As you can see, the goal here is quantity. I put a lot of stuff on these mood boards. You're not just trying to create some perfect looking masterpiece to show the client. No, let it be messy, because you want to stir up as many ideas as you can so that you can cut out the stuff that doesn't fit your client's project after you've gotten a really good picture. Like you can see here, I saw these really simple designs with basic shapes, and that reminded me of the shapes in their logo and what looks like network connections. These shapes actually ended up being all over the website. But there's one thing that I put on my mood boards that most web designers haven't even heard of. I used to have this problem where I would create these beautiful looking mood boards. The client would love it. They'd get excited about what the website was going to look like. But when I went to go on to build that site, based on that mood board, they'd come back to me and tell me that it just wasn't working. This was more than frustrating. Eventually, I finally learned that a client can't read your mind, and they might have a totally different interpretation of what your inspiration is going to look like on their website. So how do we fix it? We fix it with something called a stylescape. On a stylescape, you kind of take the elements that you're leaning toward from your mood board and you put them together just to see if they're cohesive. And this is going to give you and your client a way clearer picture of what you're thinking and will help to point you in the right direction before you open the web builder. So on this stylescape that I built for the $10,000 client, you can see all these little dots connected with lines. And I built this, showed it to the client, and they didn't like it. So this helped me know that I was going in the wrong direction, which saved me tons of time before I even started building the website. Now, this is how I build $10,000 websites. The build is actually only one piece of a really big puzzle. There's a whole system around it, from how to find clients, how to onboard them, how to keep a project moving so it doesn't drag on for months and months and months. And when all that is dialed in, your web design business grows on autopilot. I'm putting my whole system into one resource called the High Profit Process. So if you've ever wondered how to get started or how to grow to become a six-figure web designer, this is for you. If you want first access, the waitlist link is in the first line of the description. After you build out your mood board, most designers are going to tell you that there's a whole process from here. So you go from mood board, and then you go to wireframes. After that, you get approval. Once you get approval, then you go to these high fidelity mock-ups of what the website is actually going to look like before you start building them. Then you got to get approval on that. And then after all that is done, then finally you start to build the website. I skip all of that. I don't do wireframes. I don't do high fidelity mockups. I skip it all and go straight to the builder. And I know that might sound crazy or very different from what you've heard other people say, but in my 10 years of building websites for clients, I've never once had a wireframe that actually ended up being the layout of the website. Maybe I'm just bad at it, or maybe wireframes can become these tiny little prisons that you're kind of bound to because they set a client expectation that's going to be tough to change after you start building. And I get the normal workflow, because most builders, if you want to make a change to something like the layout, it takes more work than if you would have just designed it in a high fidelity mockup in the first place. But the builder that I use, Showit, feels more like a design tool than your normal web builder. Everything is drag and drop. So if something's not working, you just pick it up and move it without having to fight it. This saves me so much time and allows me to skip through so many steps that the other designers are having to walk through. But here's where I've seen a lot of people get stuck. They spend days, maybe even weeks on just the homepage. They'll tweak it and fine tune it, trying to make it perfect until they hate the website and they hate web design altogether. Their mistake is trying to make something perfect on the first try, but that's just not how creativity works. This is something that I learned from a book called Bird by Bird, which actually teaches you how to get better at writing. But I found a lot of really good gems in there. The author encourages you to try to write a blankety first draft. And I won't say what she actually says because there might be children in earshot of this video. Your first draft isn't something that you're going to show to the client. You're just trying to go from nothing to something. That's it. So really, your main goal on your first pass is just speed. Get all the sections the page needs in place. Start at the top with your hero, work down, add text, do your first idea for the design of each section, not a perfected idea, even if it doesn't work super well. Once it's finished, just keep moving on to the next. And here's what's funny, if you just keep going, rather than sticking on one section, trying to perfect it, you start to come up with ideas for your hero when you're working on the call to action. That's because creativity is not linear. So don't try to force it. Just keep moving. After you've made your first pass, come back a few times to try to refine it, and then you show it to the client. And this is the part where most designers start sweating. Revisions. Now, when I said the word revisions, you might have shuddered a little bit or gotten the chills. I get that. We've actually all been there. I have had every kind of revision nightmare that you can think of. The email thread that just never ends, and you got to go back and try to find what they said maybe 20 emails ago. Or maybe the client who sends you a bullet pointed list of 47 changes in a Word doc. All of these things have actually happened to me. Or maybe the worst, revision limbo, where you keep going back and forth with the client and it just seems to never end. This was me for a very long time. And then finally I said, I can't do this anymore. So I put 2 rules into my process that fixed almost everything. First, I give my clients limited rounds of revisions, just 2, one for their homepage and one for the rest of the pages. That's it. Now, when I said that, you might have thought, won't that keep clients from hiring me? I could actually never do that. But it's actually better for you and your client if their chances to make changes are limited. And why is that? Well, it's because if the client feels that they can keep asking for edits forever and ever, they're actually never going to really engage and think about what they actually want. That means that you end up stuck moving images from one spot to 2 pixels over and then back again endlessly and endlessly until they finally make up their minds. Don't do that to yourself. Give them a limited amount of revisions so they get serious about what they actually want and the project just gets done faster. But I found that there's another problem with revisions. Clients are notorious for just not getting back to you, and you can't move on because they haven't sent feedback. I once had to wait 3 months for a client to get back to me. And after that experience, I decided that I was only gonna give clients 48 hours to submit revisions during any round. If they don't request anything in that window, the round is done. We keep moving. And if they want to make changes to something after that, they're gonna have to pay extra. Clients are people, and people will take the time that you give them to do a task. So if you give them a week, guess what? They're gonna take a week to get back to you. If you don't give them any deadline, good luck ever hearing from your client again. Now, you might think that this is too strict of a rule or that none of your clients would actually go for it, but think of it like this. Everyone in this scenario wants the project to be done yesterday. And so you're actually just helping to move the project along. Something I tell every single client is that my job is not just to build the website, it's to keep things moving smoothly. After the revisions are locked in on the homepage, it's time to move on to the rest of the pages. But here's the thing, you don't need to treat every other page like a completely new design. That's gonna kill your time, and it's honestly worse for the users. Visitors are looking for patterns in your design so that they know how to navigate. And if there's a different pattern for everything they look at, it's gonna be way tougher for them to work through the site. So when you're building that homepage, you're not just designing a page. You're building components that you can use everywhere on the site, kind of like Legos. Every section, button, layout becomes a building block that you can use somewhere else. And sure, every once in a while, you might need to make some sections that repeating a pattern that you've already made just doesn't work. When that happens, you just go back to your mood board. You look for ideas and you keep going. But you shouldn't have to reinvent the wheel over and over again. That's why the homepage matters so much. It's not just the most important page, it's actually a blueprint for the rest of the site. After 10 years of building sites for clients, I've learned that the way you build your website is super important. But there's more to the story. Everything from finding clients, onboarding new clients, keeping projects moving, offboarding clients so they actually want to refer you to their friends and family. That stuff took me 10 years to figure out. That's why I built the High Profit Process course. It's not just videos, it's every system that I use to run my web design business. SOPs, templates, email scripts to clients, my entire system all in one place. If you want to be the first to know when it's available, the link to join the waitlist is in the first line of the description. Thanks for watching. Don't forget, if you don't quit, you win.